right, so we are going to create a program that uses recursion to calculate a product of 7 numbers, and those numbers are going to be provided by the user. So we're going to do a little thinking up front to think about what we're going to need in our program. It sounds like we're going to need a method to get the numbers provided by the user. So we can call that get numbers. That is method that gets numbers from user. All right. And so we're really going to want to put those numbers also into an array, right? So if we are going to do a recursive method, we are going to need to go through the numbers in an array and in some sort of methodical way. Okay, so if we take our numbers from the user and put them into an array, then we can index them and we can take the product of each number at a certain index position. So we need a method that's going to get the numbers from a user and add them into an array. Okay. So then we also need a method that's going to calculate the product, right, of those numbers. So let's say we can call that just like product. So that'll be the method. So it's also going to be a recursive method, right? So that's going to be, let's say recursive to calculate product. And remember, in a recursive method, what do we need? We need the base condition that's going to terminate. And then we need the recursive method that is going to break down into smaller problems, right? All right, and so then we're also going to need our main method that's going to call our other methods. So we can start with that main method. All right, and so we also need to go ahead and initialize our array with the amount of elements that are going to be in our array. So we're going to take in 7 numbers provided by the user. And so we want to go ahead and initialize that array, our integer array, with 7 elements. We'll call that array numbers. And it's going to have 7 elements. Got another typo. Recursive product. Grab main here. Okay. Now we've gotten rid of my errors, and then the rest we're going to leave open to do later. Okay. So then we'll just go ahead and add in our methods that we came up with. So the first one will be a void method, because we're not going to return anything. We're just going to go ahead and get numbers from the user and add them into the array. So get numbers. And so what are our parameters for the get numbers? So we talked about how we are going to add them into the array. That array is going to be the parameter that we are going to pass into get numbers. Then we'll come back to this one. And our last one is going to be the calculate product. But in this one, what are we going to return? We are going to return a product. So we are not going to have a void method. We are going to return an integer. Okay. And so remember I said in the beginning that we would also, so we are taking in that array of our numbers array, but we are also going to need to calculate our product, we are going to have to index each of our elements in our array. So to calculate our product. So we have to pass in both our array and our index. And that's going to be how we calculate a product. All right. All right. So we can leave this open since we're not going to worry about it now, but we do, we could add a return statement of something. Yes, but this will be a little confusing for now. Just return 0, but we need to know that we're going to need to come back here and add more. So let's start with the get numbers. So this one is about, this method is to get numbers from our user and add them to array. So we need to come down here. You can already see the console, but we are going to ask our user to enter numbers, and then we're going to give them their product. So how could we do that? We could do a for loop and then we could scan the user input and then add them using for loop to the array. That's probably the simplest way to do it, and to iterate through each of those. So we need to add our scanner. So we'll go ahead and import up here. You guys have already been familiar probably with using scanner. All right. And then we'll create our for loop to loop through, tell the user to enter their number, and then to also add that number to our array. So and we'll make sure that we iterate the amount of times that we need to we're going to do 7 times. So we're going to start at 0. And then we can go to the length of our array. So that will make it simple instead of putting in a value here. And we're going to increase every time. And we're going to print out enter number. And then we want to take their input and we want to add it to the ith position in our numbers array. So numbers, the ith position, and use our scanner to add to the ith position. All right. And then we'll close our scanner, of course. And that's it. So that's how we're going to get numbers from the user and then add them to the array. All right. So then we need to look at those numbers in the array and create a recursive method to calculate the product. So if we remember the base condition, I'll do this now. The base condition we need a base condition to terminate the recursive method. So we know that we're probably going to start at the index position 0. So where are we going to terminate? That's what we need to know. Now, if we think about our array, let's say with 7 numbers. Okay, so this is how we can look at it visually. So this was how we initialized our numbers array with 7 elements. And so let's just say we have 7 numbers that the user input into our numbers array. And we create our recursive method and taking in the numbers array, and we're going to start at our index position 0. I already gave you guys that, and we're going to start at our index position 0. And then that is going to at our index position 0, that's going to give us number 5, right? Okay, so we want to stop then when we reach the index position that gives us the last number in our array. So we're going to go through and we need to make sure that this is the last number that is returned. Okay, so when we come through and we get to 6, this needs to be the 6th index position. This needs to be our base condition. So we need to write a statement that when we get to the index position of 6, then we just need to return that number, that 2, at that index position of 6. All right, so this becomes the base condition, where at the index position of 6, so we can have the length of that array, which would be 7 minus 1, and then we're just going to return the that element at that index position. Okay, so let's go ahead and write that in, but hopefully that helps you see how we would come to that conclusion. All right, so if index we're going to return all right, and then we need our else statement. Okay, and this is going to be our recursive method. So otherwise we want to create a product, right? So we want to return the number or the element at the index position, and then we want to call the method again, right? So that's the idea behind the recursive method. And we're just going to call it again, but this time we're going to increase the index position. All right, so back in this, we are going to we're going to increase, so if we're at 0, we're going to increase +1, so we're going to return the at position 0, and then we are going to call it again, increasing the index position. And so that's how we are going to end up creating this recursive method to calculate the product. All right, and that's it. That's all we have to do for our calculate product method. And then now we need to call our methods in our main method. All right, so we're going to start adding. We are going to call our get numbers so we can get our numbers from the user. We're going to have to pass in our numbers array. And so right now at this point, it's just an empty array. And then our user is going to add those numbers into the array. Then we also need to create a variable for our product so that we can tell the user what their product is and return it. So call that calculate product method. And pass in, we have to pass in again the numbers array, and then we're going to start at index position 0. Right? And then we're going to return to the user what the product is. We need to also make sure that we add product variable that we created. All right, let's try this out and see what happens. All right, so let's enter some numbers. Let's just do some simple ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. If I knew how to multiply all those numbers together in my head, I would know if that was correct, but I'm guessing it is. And that's all we had to do. All right. Thank you guys for watching.